So I'd like very much to invite up the CEO of Walmart, Doug McMillan. Doug, come up on stage. If you're here, of course you are, there you are. Good to see you again.
Hey, how are you, Alex?
And also to invite again, have a seat, Doug, to invite again from Danone, Emmanuel Faber. Emmanuel spoke with great passion this morning. Emmanuel, have a seat, come and join us.
Thanks.
So we'll just discuss these other pillars which have not been touched upon yet, equally important. The key issues of health and well-being, I always say well-being rather than wellness, but we know what we're talking about. Some statistics for you. This is from the economic growth average. 20%, we spend 20% more in 35 countries of the Organization for Economic Development on healthcare. Healthcare costs outpace economic growth by 20% in those 35 key economies. That's quite a statistic. In the United States, 20% almost, just short of, but almost 20% of GDP goes on healthcare expenses. So in terms of consumer, one way of looking at this, in terms of consumer goods, this is an enormous market where your business can clearly make a difference. Danone and Walmart are clearly leading exciting initiatives here at the Consumer Goods Forum on these key pillars. And we're going to, hear from Emmanuel and hear from Doug what they're doing. So, Emmanuel, you spoke very passionately this morning from your perspective in Danone. But bring us up to date with the actions in terms of the Consumer Goods Forum and the pillars. What's happening there?
Well, I think Walmart and Danone are working within the health and wellness pillar framework on one part which is here on the top left, which is collaboration for healthier lives. And I'm sure Doug would go into much more detail than I would, but just to introduce it briefly, the simple idea is that while we are debating on very complex industry-wide topics at the board of the CGF and quite often within the pillars themselves, the idea here has been to create very concrete local pilot experiments where retailers and consumer goods companies together are nudging the behavior of shoppers and consumers into healthier habits. And so this is really about local experiments, and therefore, in a way, this is an easy thing to do. It's nimble, it can be fast, and it can drive very concrete learnings as to how the combination of retailers and manufacturers can actually change the health of people in their local community, which at the end of the day will be where the reality is about. And so this is very much what Walmart and Danone are, with many other companies, pioneering within the framework of CGF on this.
Right, so Doug, just flesh that out a little bit.
Sure.
In terms of these pilot projects, you've got your pad nimbly and precariously balanced there, but tell us what in concrete terms is going on.
Sure.
It's a short, sharp, it's quite easy, but it's quite effective.
Sure. I'm sure most, if not all, the retailers in the room do wellness days, and we've been doing them for quite some time too, but they're relatively infrequent. And what's different in this case is that we've really stepped up the frequency. Instead of a few times a year, we're talking about multiple times during a month. We're measuring more effectively. We have good measurements processes set up in place. We have a marketing program, and we have a lot of retailers and manufacturers involved. And the reason I have this here is because I wanted to quickly read the list, because there's so many and we want to give them credit. PepsiCo, Colgate, Johnson & Johnson, Campbell, General Mills, Mondelez, Nestle, Walgreens, Target, CVS, Ahold, WPP, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and Harvard are all involved. So the Johnson & Johnson Family Foundation is helping to sponsor measurement. Harvard is helping us with measurement, both qualitative and quantitative. And by coming together with this campaign and intercepting customers to help them with screenings, with immunizations, and with products that are more healthy, we believe we can have a bigger impact.
To which the obvious question to come back would be, well, goodness me, Doug, if they're all doing that, and you all mentioned that they are before you even gave the list, why do you need to come together to do this? Why does something like Consumer Goods Forum help? You're all doing it anyway, right?
Well, I think we're encouraging each other. I mean, we're individually doing it, and the collective will be greater than those individual parts. And I think the frequency will matter, and obviously measurement's a big deal. We want to know what's working, what's not working.
Right. Did you find, Emmanuel, that when you came together, you began to learn new things? You learned more about the process collaboratively?
Yes, absolutely. I think the element of working as a pack, as an industry, is allowing us to learn very fast from one region to the other, from one category to the other when it comes to us, which is really, I think, a great way to be able to implement those at scale, because there are so many companies that we can reach as part of the Consumer Goods Forum.
We should mention that Exido did this in Colombia and in Costa Rica and set a good example and a model for us to build on. And in this case, we're focused on Hagerstown, Maryland in the United States, but there are plans to take this to Japan, South Africa, and other markets.
Right. So a difficult thing to ask you guys to do as CEOs of Danone and Walmart, but leaving aside those companies in terms of the broader pillars and CGF, tell people here, what does success look like, say, in 2 years' time, 5 years' time? Take your own time frame, but...
Okay, let's, well, I think the interesting aspect of these initiatives is that indeed we can be successful in a pretty short period of time. Because for me, success is going to be two things. There is an obsession of consumers about their health, but they don't quite know how we can help them. And sometimes, as I said this morning, they are going on their own way. And I think that we see consumers walking away from our brands, walking away from our shops. One very simple way of measuring the success is it going to impact our business or not? Are we going to retrieve relevance for consumers when it comes to how we deal with their health and support them for healthier options? The second is that I don't think we'll be able to measure the impact on health, but the one thing we'll be able to measure is, as you would call it, as an intervention in terms of scientific or clinical study. These are, this can be a myriad of micro interventions on which we will be able to tell very concretely to local public authorities, or actually nationwide. We are launching a pilot in the UK where NHS is going to be part of it, where we can inform public policies about what works and what doesn't work in nudging consumers, supporting consumers, shoppers, into a healthier behavior. And so I think in and by itself, how much of public policy locally we would have informed through these experiments is also, for me, a measure of success.
Okay, and how would
want to influence how people are shopping, the decisions that they're making, actually shift what they're purchasing, and working together with our suppliers. We're already trying to take out sugar and salt and fat and shift individual items as well. In these most recent events that we've had, we've got individual stories of customers who've learned that they have cancer and didn't know it. People who have had heart issues and discovered it as a result of this. So I think there'll be individual powerful stories in addition to larger data.
Yeah, so real individual benefits as well as the data. Gentlemen, remain seated for a moment, but give them a round of applause. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
We do have a lot of companies that are not involved. So we'd like to get half of you involved. Contact one of us or get a hold of the CGF. Sorry, Alex, just one last plug there.
The pitch was made. Walmart's there. Where are you if you're not there? Okay? Thanks. I'll just do a quick up-sum. I'm very sparing Emmanuel's blushes, but due to where he appeared in the program, I just want to pick out some key points from the recent presentations. Emmanuel, what he talked about, the Colorado River, the salinity of the river, not reaching the sea, a great image, but it's not just California's problem. Every single country, I suggest, could pick on a similar example of environmental depletion. 160 UN countries voted for the concept of food as a human right. Wealth and food inequality, he said, are a huge time bomb, and to be discussed, no doubt, the ultimate goal of market economy must be social justice. Powerful remarks there. Cecilia, trade deals with South Korea upped the trade by 55% when the EU negotiated that. That's some difference. Equally, CETA will cut by more than 90% the tariffs with Canada. and the need from your community for business engagement and involvement with the EU in the process of tearing down the walls, so to speak. Stefan, I am slightly scared by Alexa, I must say, particularly the idea of leaving my children alone with her, but you get the point that was being made there. Wonderful journey, a psychological journey through the profiling and the mood of different stores. As you well know, the mood matters hugely in terms of this Verfassung, the mood of customers. And I have to say, I'm greatly enriched by the knowledge that the environment matters more than doing the housework. Which for me was a key take-home message, if you feel like housework the way I do. So, back everybody at 4:30 sharp. I've slightly cut in perhaps towards the tea break, but I'm sure it's worth it. See you back here after the break. Thanks very much indeed.